All right. What is up, everyone? Yeah, I just had a lot of stuff on my mind and figured journaling was only so useful. Therapist is out right now. Scheduling did not align. Got a lot of conflict in the way. And I figured, yeah, you know what? Let's post a long format kind of video and just post this somewhere and see if I can relate to someone, because what I've noticed is when you're thinking in a vacuum, you just get too into your head and you think that, oh, it's just me. But it's not just you. It's a lot of other people, and let's see where this hits. So essentially, I got this issue the other day. I was playing chess and I think I went on like a 7-game loss streak, and it just really just ignited something in me where, like, yeah, I realized, like, damn, like, I feel just dumb. Chess is one of those games that just make you feel dumb, you know? Like, I got finessed so bad 7 games in a row. I just looked at my phone blankly with this, like, just like nothing behind my eyes kind of look. And I just zoned out, and I felt like, damn, I'm just here just to look at neon screens and press buttons on my phone. And it wasn't a good moment. And I'm not talking about this to just highlight that, yeah, I got bodied and I'm just venting about it, but it made me realize that, damn, I feel unproductive right now, and I feel semi-aimless with my time in the Marine Corps, right? And I guess, yeah, that's my main topic today: aimlessness in the Marine Corps and the sense of unproductiveness, and, you know, and how that looks in the general kind of perspective. Because before the Marine Corps, I was a personal trainer. I felt pretty confident about myself. I felt like I did stuff. I accomplished a lot along the way. I had to, like, become an intellectual, and I had to become socially adept, you know? I gotta get out there and make cold calls or whatever. I gotta close people when I'm just doing my thing as a trainer, and just get any sense of value, right? I felt like I earned my money pretty much. But in the Marine Corps, I feel like I just follow orders, become like some kind of robot, you know, for a higher enlisted or an officer to just bark orders at me, and then I just comply or whatever, right? It makes me feel stupid, you know, like, I have this running joke with my friends here, and, like, it feels like the moment I just put on my uniform, I just start losing IQ, and I just start spouting buffoonery, some debauchery, and it's just like a lot of meme talk, a lot of brain rot talk, and it's just I mean, it's just funny, you know, but for some reason it just feels like, damn, like, I'm not making the most out of my time. I feel like I put myself to this crazy standard, and, or not even crazy, but I just feel like, damn, like, why am I not performing, and why am I not feeling like I'm really into my field like all these other guys in my same field would do, right? Yeah, I don't plan on editing any of this. I'm not a big editing kind of guy at all. Like, for me, like, I just want to just get this idea out there, start recording myself, start expressing myself, and then just post it into the ether and see where it goes, you know? Or maybe just use it as a video journal for myself, because maybe I've been growing a little more fond of just, like, talking more, whereas when, like, before I had my therapist, like, I just wouldn't really want to express myself, but I'm open towards it now, you know? But essentially, back on the main topic of feeling unproductive, like, I told myself that I would be joining the Marine Corps for 3 main things. 1, so if I stay in long enough, I can just retire at 45, do 20 years, whatever, and just pay off anything I wanted in terms of business. Like, when I get the retirement money, when I serve 20 years or 15 years, because there's different plans for it, I can save up that money so I can start my own business. Because for the longest time, I've always wanted to make my own gym and start my own gym, just, like, do everything. This was at the tail end of my personal training days, and I realized at that point it would be too difficult of a jump for me to do it at that time, because I had two routes I was going towards, either like the corporate sales route that it was slowly like rearing its head in, and like I saw a lot more opportunities for it, but something in my soul was telling me, yeah, I don't need to do a Wolf of Wall Street job 9 to 5 that often. But when my true goals were to create athletes and sort of have an area, a gym that can facilitate many different kinds of disciplines, whether it's like CrossFit, powerlifting, bodybuilding, any kind of discipline, I just wanted to have a gym to just like get everything, right? And I noticed there was a market for it because that wasn't a thing in the gym community, and gyms were popping off at that time. This was like 4 years ago. I think the market is still there, but it was definitely dying down because around 4 years ago, it was like the craze of getting fit combined with the pandemic made people like, damn, like how do I get fit during the pandemic, during all this time or whatever. And at that time, my gym was also like open, but open as in like, yeah, we'll only let like 50 people in at a time, and there's a queue for it, and you have to wear your mask at all times. But I wanted to jump in on that market. I still think it's a viable thing, and I'm wagering like, hey, maybe 20 years down the line, I can gather enough capital where I can legitimately spend money on this without too much fear of like this running my credit score down to the ground or getting bankruptcy. And I get it, right? Like the idea of like starting a business is always some kind of risk, but in my head, like, damn, if I settle for this kind of risk so young and it happens to be the worst option, and I have to dig myself out, and then in my head the shovel to dirt ratio is not there for me. It's not benefiting me. So in my head I told myself, yeah, what options do I have to sort of gather a lot of capital and hit all these other milestones and work alongside all these other disciplines in my life. I wanted to stay fit. I wanted to become better at the things I'm weaker at, like socializing at the time or whatever, and learn a new trade, right? And the military was that, like, the Marine Corps, we have PFTs, CFTs, we got to stay fit, look good, shoot straight, So it gets the physical side out of the way. And I've come to realize that, going back to the top three, I'm going on too many tangents right now, right? So the top 3 reasons why I joined the Marine Corps was, 1, I knew if I just endured it for 20 years, which in my head, I knew it was possible because like, it's just following orders, just doing all these things, and I have housing, food, and all these other stuff paid for. It is very possible. People gripe a lot about the Marine Corps and the military in general, how like, you lose all autonomy and all this and that. It's not that bad, like you're gonna be working for someone regardless, but at least now, like you're technically on a salary pay. You have days off you can call for at any time's notice. You have federal holidays. You have all this TSP stuff that you can save in that can build towards your money. GI Bill, food, medical's another caveat though, right? If you've ever been to any government subsidized medical facility, it may be free, but it may take hours before you can actually get seen. And it's going to only, the hours it takes is going to be all for them just writing you a chit or referring you to someone else. That may take 2 months, right? So it's all this litigation. It's all this red tape that goes on. Maybe litigation wasn't the right word, but it's all this red tape that goes on where like you gotta just wait, and there's just no sense of being seen. And the main thing about that, I'm not even gonna get into medical related stuff. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I joined the Marine Corps. The second was, like I said, staying fit. And then the third was I wanted to expand my horizons, right? Like learn something new. Because at the time when I first joined, I signed in for a recon contract. It sounded really cool and badass, and I told myself I needed a radical career change at the time. Little did I know how enduring and crazy freaking difficult going recon actually was. And I'm actually very fortunate I dropped out of it because like I failed swim qual, and it's supposed to be like basic swim or intermediate swim qual or something in boot camp, and it was no go for me. So I realized I sank like a rock, right? So that wasn't gonna cut it if you're gonna do crazy underwater amphibious kind of trainings and you're just dying when you just do 50 meters, right? So that wasn't it for me, but that was a foot into the door for one of the greater sort of developments I've had in my entire life, actually. So when I failed my recon contract, my senior drill instructor in boot camp just gave me an option, like, okay, Nguyen, you got two options. You can either go open contract, and it'll just be a gamble to whatever MOS they're gonna give you. If you're a grunt, hey mate, you're fucked. Because a grunt, some people like the lifestyle, but that's how you burn both. That's how you burn the candle at both ends, right? Like that's how you wear yourself out, and it's not a good move at all, right? But he said it's either open contract or this Intel contract, and it intrigued me. So we went down the vetting process, the interviewing. I pass all of it, and it looks like I'm good. And I go to the schoolhouse. Boom! 6 months later, I'm good, and I really like what I'm doing. It seems badass. You get to do all this crazy stuff. You learn a lot of new things, and you get to go to possibly do different areas in deployment and whatnot. So fast forward schoolhouse, fast forward hitting the fleet. I'm 1 year into the fleet now and some change, and I'm assigned this new platoon probably like 6-7 months ago. And this is probably one of the most, how you say, it's a crazy underdog story, I can say, right? Like it started really shitty. I was just showing my ass every day, I guess. In that terms, I mean like just not performing and not giving a fuck about it. I was only ever performing to the bare minimum standard that was requested by me, and I just didn't really want to elevate. I didn't want to integrate with the platoon. I did my job. I liked the work, but I don't know, I just didn't like people at this time. I had a phase where at this point where I had trust issues. I didn't know if people were gonna fuck me over, or if I can feel comfortable of being open to these people, if they're gonna accept me or whatever. I for some reason I can't remember too much about like my gripes about it now, only because ever since I started therapy like 3 months ago, it sort of like remedied all of that. It sort of was trial by fire, and just the sheer amount of reps I took to get into it, and just the literal reconciliation that, damn, if I don't get through this, then I just won't make the cut, and I'm putting myself in a worse spot. So I told myself, after a lot of back and forth between my command of, all right, I'm explaining this really bad, but let me start from the top, right? So I joined this new platoon. This is the first platoon of this new system they have called the COEs, the Centers of Excellence. It's pretty much another schoolhouse kind of thing where for 8 months, there'll be like 8 different classes or whatever that you have to attend and you have to pass. And you do this to define what deployment you're going to set yourself onto, right? So when I first joined, I was like a month late because they had some fellas drop out, and I had to go in with them to fill up the spot or whatever, right? So throughout these 8 months, I'm slowly making a couple friends out of like the 16, 17 of us, and it's sort of like outcast friends, right? Like we all know that like we're not main into the group, but like at least we got each other, right? So after a while of that, I didn't fulfill a social aspect of any of these fellas at all. It's like I just did the bare minimum. I wasn't antagonistic towards any of them. I just was like closed off, and I didn't express myself, right? So it's a combination of that, but then I did my work. I was known for doing that, right? Like they just didn't know much about me because I didn't express myself, but I did work. And then I just gave this vibe off where I wasn't like a go-getter, and my boss, my officer, my OIC at the time, she just noticed that, and then she sort of like in her head just like ranks me lower on this totem pole. I mean, because everyone does. Everyone ranks each other, you know. I'm not stating that of offense or whatever, but I'm just merely observing it, right? But it was 8 months of that, and then at the end of it, there was a cut where there were 4 people that had to be cut from our detachment to go to a different company, which is pretty much the long story short, is like, you got varsity, you got JV, right? So 4 people had to go to JV, and I was really wishing that that was me, because it was in my head. I told myself, damn, all right, I'm gonna go to this new company. I can go to school online, do that thing in my meantime, because I heard there's a lot of downtime in this company. It's a fresh start, new people. I like the mission set. I feel like I can just be a desktop jockey or whatever and just do my thing and just not worry about people too much, and it's just a reset, and I don't have to deal with all this social dynamic stuff that I was extremely uncomfortable with dealing with at the time. So I wanted that, and that did not happen. I had like 4 or 5 meetings of senior enlisted, master sergeants, first sergeants, and they're just all talking to me like, all right, what is your side on this? And they hear me and they're like, all right, but no. Pretty much they're saying like, all right, our lieutenant colonel has the vested interest and the hope that I can perform where I'm at, where they wanted me to be, which is to stay with this platoon and not move to where I want to go. And so after a lot of back and forth, and eventually like my officer and my staff sergeant come in and like they just tell me, all right, Nguyen, you're just gonna stay with us. That's just how it's gonna go. And if you're honest with us about why you are so conflicted with staying, we can work with that. And like eventually I tell them like, yeah, it's extremely hard for me to work with social situations, and I didn't trust anyone, and it's just something in my life where like, yeah, it's just hard for me to open up. I need help. So after a little bit of that, and after a little while of me sort of getting to air out my frustrations to my officer, we come to the conclusion that, yeah, we both made mistakes, and let's overcome this together. And I genuinely said that too and meant that, and we started getting over it. And she gave me resources to get through my problem, and she set me up with my therapist. And this was probably like 2.5, 3 months ago now. And I set up my therapist. I'm patient, and I'm really driven into the process, like, all right, let's just take our time. This isn't going to be 2 sessions in and we're good. Let's just go once a week and see where we go. And we keep on doing this, and it actually ends up working. I have a voice, I feel heard, and I feel like my issues are being seen in a way that's valid. So we keep on going with therapy, and it sort of clears everything up, honestly. That's why I mentioned I don't remember too much of my actual gripes and like the shitty days or whatever during the time of the COEs, because after this I just think of the good and I just forgot the bad or whatever. Yeah, but that being said, damn, I sort of forgot where this was going. Shit. Essentially, yeah. So I feel better. I'm on another kind of consistency, but I feel like, when you climb a little bit of a mountain, you realize it's just a hill, and there's just another problem to be solved, right? And like, of course, there's more problems to be solved. This time, the problem is that, like, what can I do to really be productive? Do I need a lat move? Do I feel like at times I'm just doing this to just trade in hours for money and sort of tough it out because I know this is so easy. But then at the same time, I feel like I'm not turned enough stones over in this occupational field, but I don't feel like I don't know why I'm not driven enough to be like, all right, let's just pick up a book, listen to some YouTube videos about why, and be vested into it, and like take notes and like be into this like the other people are. And like in my head, I'm like, it's no shit. I don't care about it. I guess. But I'm trying to tell myself, like, how do I care about it, right? How do I give a fuck about this? And that's just something I really am struggling to bridge. I just don't know how to care about something I don't care about. And perhaps this conversation is supposed to be like, all right, if your interest is like somewhere else, perhaps just go somewhere else. But in my head, like, fuck, all right, if I go through the schoolhouse process again, all this slow stuff, just moving away, starting fresh in a new OC field, like, what if I know that doesn't work again, In my head, it's like, all right, perhaps I'm just fighting the idea of being lazy. And maybe my conflict right now is that, like, damn, I'm not completely vested in this. But maybe I think I'm just giving myself too much shit, because I think that's another thing I need to bring up to my therapist, is something called cognitive disorder. My friend that I play basketball with, he mentioned this to me, where he's like, yeah, cognitive disorder is when you mention yourself and you talk to yourself in a negative kind of light regularly, right? So in my head, if it was a disorder, if it wasn't a disorder, that means that you just talk to yourself in a good way, right? A positive light all the time. And it makes me realize, damn, like, why am I not talking to myself in a positive light? Why am I having conversations like this where, like, I feel like, fuck, woe is me, like, why do I not care enough? I'm putting all this shit over. But in my head, like, what if I can say this to reach more people and make it be known that, like, yeah, it's normal to feel like you're not performing high or whatever, that, like, all these other people were, like, really outshining you or some shit. But yeah, like, even with knowing that, I just don't know why I feel not normal. I don't know why I don't feel normal. That's the same thing. But yeah, I just wanted to say this so I can voice my opinions and fulfill something I always wanted to do. But maybe I'm not going to post all of it, you know. Maybe I have to get a little edit in there, because I am rambling for 20 minutes now. But if this reaches anyone that they relate to, and they're also a member in the military or whatever, hope this reaches out to you. And yeah, take care.